So, you've started hearing voices that don't exist. Maybe your dreams are full of screaming lights. Maybe your coffee mug levitates when you're stressed. Or maybe people just keep dying around you in weirdly coincidental ways. In any normal universe, you'd call a therapist. But this isn't a normal universe. This is Warhammer 40k. And in the grim darkness of the far future, that's not just insanity, that's a warp leak in your skull. Congratulations, you're a Psyker, humanity's most terrifying evolutionary step, and its most reliable way to explode without warning. You can move objects with your mind, set people on fire with a thought, and accidentally open a hole to hell by sneezing too hard. In the Imperium, that makes you both an asset and an immediate threat to every living thing in your planet. The best you can hope for is to be captured by the authorities, survive a trip on a haunted space barge, and get chained to a desk as a psychic switchboard operator for the rest of your life. Worst case, you become lunch for the Emperor, or a chew toy for a demon. See, being a Psyker isn't a blessing, it's a death sentence. You're not born with psychic powers. You're born with a doorway in your soul that leads directly into the raw nightmare energy of the warp. Every thought, every emotion, every flicker of doubt is an invitation for something unspeakable to crawl through, and you're glowing like a lighthouse in the dark. In this video, we'll cover everything you need to know to not die immediately. How Psykers work, what the warp actually is, what happens when the black ships show up to collect you, and which miserable career paths might keep you alive for a few more years. Spoiler, none of them are good. But if you're lucky, you might at least die doing something useful, like feeding the Emperor's giant psychic nightlight. So, buckle up, little witch. You've just joined the most short-lived profession in the galaxy. The warp, also known as the Imperium, isn't just another dimension. It's a psychic ocean made of pure emotion, where every human fear, rage, and desire bubbles together until it grows sentient. When you dream, your mind brushes against it. When you die, your soul sinks into it. When you reach into it deliberately, you're gambling with things much stronger than you. The gods and demons of chaos were born from this psychic soup, and they love when mortals dip their fingers in uninvited. Psychic powers are what happens when you try to scoop some of that energy out and shape it. A few examples are telekinesis, telepathy, pyromancy, basically the full Jedi starter kit, but with a 90% chance of demonic possession. You might bend metal, control minds, or ignite heretics with a thought. You might also detonate your brain and summon a screaming warp entity that devours your neighbors. It's a mixed bag. Within the Imperium, Psykers fall into two rough categories: sanctioned and unsanctioned. Sanctioned Psykers are the lucky or unlucky few who survive Imperial testing, get a purity brand burned into their skull, and are allowed to use their powers under strict supervision. Unsanctioned Psykers, on the other hand, are everyone else: the untrained, the undiscovered, or the ones who got caught using telepathy to cheat at cards. They tend to end up dead, possessed, or worse. Every Psyker is a lighthouse, and that's the problem. Your mind shines in the darkness of the Imperium, a beacon cutting through the storm. And just like a lighthouse attracts lost ships, it also attracts the things that live in the deep. Demons, warp entities, half-formed nightmares. They all see that light, and to them, it's a dinner bell. The stronger you are, the brighter your soul burns, and the louder you scream to every predator in the void. This is why powerful Psykers rarely die peacefully. One moment they're bending steel with their minds, the next their eyes are melting, their head bursts into light, and a demon wears their body like a badly fitted coat. Sometimes they explode into raw psychic energy. Sometimes their minds collapse inward, dragging nearby reality with them. Either way, it's rarely dignified and almost never survivable. Even the Emperor himself, the most powerful psyker humanity has ever produced, doesn't control the warp so much as endure it. His power comes from discipline on a scale no mortal could match. His mind a fortress in a hurricane that would pulverize anyone else, and even he couldn't use it forever without consequence. The Golden Throne is the price of that power, a tomb wired into the warp, forever burning to keep the rest of us from becoming lunch. This abyss doesn't just stare back, it reaches back. It wants you, your thoughts, your emotions, your soul. And once it knows your name, it never forgets. So, the voices got louder and someone noticed. Maybe your local preacher saw you muttering to yourself and called it heresy. Maybe a random Imperial guard felt your mind brush his thoughts and screamed for the Arbites. Either way, the result's the same. The Adeptus Astra Telepathica has your scent. And when they come, it's not with kind words or understanding. It's with chains, collars, and a one-way ticket aboard a black ship. The black ships are among the most feared vessels in the Imperium, and for good reason. They drift from world to world, collecting psykers like refuse, mutants, witches, prophets, all thrown into lightless holds beneath the decks. The air down there hums with fear and psychic bleed. Thousands of minds packed together, panicking, screaming, leaking nightmares into the warp. It's less a prison and more a psychic bomb waiting to go off. Many die before the ship even leaves orbit. Some are executed when they lose control. Others are devoured by something that noticed the buffet. Those who survive the voyage find themselves on Terra, staring up at the burning skyline of the Imperial Palace, and realize that was the easy part. The psykers are tested, examined, and sorted like livestock. The lucky ones, and that word's doing a lot of heavy lifting, are branded, scarred, and remade as sanctioned psykers. Their powers are shackled through pain, ritual, and training. Their minds are forcibly bound, and their souls, marked by the Emperor's seal, they emerge as astropaths, battle psykers, diviners, servants of the Imperium, but forever half-broken. The unlucky ones are declared too unstable, too dangerous to risk. They're executed, sometimes publicly, sometimes quietly. And then there are the chosen. The most potent psykers, those whose souls blaze brightest in the warp, are taken to the Golden Throne. Their minds are consumed, literally fed to the Emperor, to keep the Astronomicon burning, that psychic lighthouse that guides Imperial ships through the warp. Around 10,000 souls die every single day to keep humanity's torch alight. The greatest gift a psyker can offer is to be fuel. So you survived the black ships. Congratulations. You're one in a million, literally. The rest are ash, demonic chew toys, or sitting inside the Emperor's metaphysical stomach. But you've been sanctioned, which is a fancy, high Gothic way of saying you're now an officially licensed psychic liability. The process leaves its mark, both physically and psychically. Every sanctioned psyker is branded with purity seals, hexagrammic wards, and runic scars that crawl across the skin like living barbed wire. Your mind is caged by oaths, your soul is leashed to the Emperor, and you belong to the Imperium's sprawling bureaucracy now. They'll tell you this is a sacred duty. You'll tell yourself it's better than being soul food. Your new job depends on how broken you are and what's left of your sanity. Astropaths are the lucky ones, if you can call being blind, half insane, and haunted by the Emperor's voice lucky. They undergo the soul binding, a psychic ritual that fuses their mind to a fraction of the Emperor's essence. It shields them from the worst horrors of the warp, but the process burns out their eyes and often leaves their bodies frail and trembling. In exchange, they can transmit thoughts across the galaxy. Most serve as part of vast astropathic choirs, their minds joined in chorus to sing the Imperium's messages through the immaterium. The closer you are to Terra, the safer you are. Fortress worlds and core systems offer some stability. But if you're assigned to a starship, you're just waiting for a demonic postcard to arrive through your skull. Then there are the battle psykers, the Emperor's favorite form of disposable artillery. Trained by the Scholastica Psycana, they march alongside the Imperial Guard, channeling warp energy into fire, lightning, and psychic blasts that can vaporize platoons. They're powerful, terrifying, and short-lived. Between enemy snipers and occasional spontaneous combustion, their survival odds are hardly any better than the average guardsman, and they also tend to die horrible deaths. On the bright side, you'll die doing something dramatic. Navigators sit in their own category entirely. They're psykers, yes, but they're also mutants, a distinct subspecies, the navigator gene running through their ancient houses. Each one bears a third eye, allowing them to see the tides of the immaterium and guide ships through the warp using the Astronomican's light. You can't train to be one. You have to be born into one of the navigator houses, which makes them aristocrats. They have power, protection, and obscene wealth. But they're as alien to humanity as any other mutant strain. Other sanctioned psykers end up as administratum telepaths, inquisitorial aides, or imperial agents, depending on who notices them first. The Inquisition especially loves picking up psykers who still have most of their mind intact. They make great tools for rooting out heresy, or great scapegoats when things go wrong. Sanctioned psykers walk a thin line. The Imperium needs them desperately, but fears them even more. To most citizens, you're a ticking time bomb in human form, a necessary evil. You'll never again be treated as fully human, but at least you're not being hunted anymore. If you're an unsanctioned psyker in Warhammer 40k, your life becomes one long panic attack wrapped in a cloak. The moment your powers awaken, you start leaking warp energy like a busted battery, and everything notices demons, cultists, the Inquisition, random people who suddenly get nosebleeds around you. Being a psyker is basically having a neon sign over your head that says, "Please ruin my life." So what are your options? Believe it or not, you do have a few, but they range from barely survivable to you will die screaming. Your first option is getting picked up by an Inquisitor. That sounds awful, and it is, but it's actually the best realistic outcome. Inquisitors love tools they can use, and a psyker who can predict danger, read minds, or sniff out warp taint is incredibly valuable. Divination, especially, is a lifesaver. Tell an Inquisitor where the ambush is, predict which door has the demon behind it, and suddenly you're not a walking liability. You're an asset. Of course, you need to keep yourself under control. If you start muttering to the voices at the wrong moment or accidentally set someone on fire, you'll be replaced without a second thought. But as long as you're useful, an Inquisitor will protect you, sometimes even better than the Imperium itself would. Your second option is finding a rogue trader. Rogue traders operate outside most Imperial laws, which means they're willing to take risks, like hiring an unsanctioned psyker. To them, you're a multi-purpose tool, a danger detector, a negotiator, a security measure, and occasionally a weapon. If they like you, you'll get food, quarters, and a long leash. But remember, that rogue traders deal with threats the Imperium doesn't want to touch. If there's a haunted alien ruin or a warp storm shaped like a screaming skull, guess who gets sent in first? Exactly. Being useful keeps you alive, but you'll see things that make demons look polite. Your third option is disappearing into the criminal underworld. This is where psykers often end up, if no one official gets to them first. Gangs, crime lords, and smugglers all want a psyker if they can control one. You'll be told you're family or valued, but you're really just a tool. Maybe for intimidation, maybe for interrogation, maybe for rituals depending on how heretical your employer feels that month. And these arrangements almost always end the same way. You run after realizing your boss prays to something with too many eyes, or you end up at the center of a ritual that requires just a little bit of your soul. Your fourth option is the one everyone insists they won't take, right up until they do. Chaos. When life gets desperate enough, or your powers get unstable enough, the warp will start whispering offers: control, power, guidance, relief. All lies, obviously, but extremely tempting when you haven't slept in 5 days and your dreams scream back at you. Chaos might make you stronger for a while, but it's not survival. It's a countdown. You'll mutate, or go insane, or explode, or get possessed and used like a sock puppet. Everyone thinks they'll be the exception. No one is. The truth is that unsanctioned psykers do not get peaceful lives. You might survive longer than someone on a black ship, but you'll always be hunted, either by the Imperium or by the warp. If you want the best possible odds, your goal is simple. Make yourself valuable to someone powerful. An inquisitor or rogue trader can protect you, even respect you, if your abilities genuinely help them. Divination and telepathy especially give you the kind of value that buys time. And time, for an unsanctioned psyker, is everything. At some point in your psychic misery, you might start thinking something very stupid. Something like, hey, maybe chaos isn't that bad. This is the moment every seasoned psyker survivor will tell you, congrats, you're about 5 minutes away from making the worst decision of your existence. Still, the temptation is real, because when you're a psyker, chaos whispers to you constantly. It sees your fear, your loneliness, your desperation, and it does what any good predator does. It pretends to be your friend. Why do psykers fall? Simple chaos offers two things. The Imperium doesn't: freedom and power. At least, that's what it sounds like at first. You get promises of total control over your abilities, visions of mastery, a voice telling you that you're special and meant for greatness. And yes, for a little while, it even works. Chaos psykers are stronger. They're sharper, more aware. Their powers expand faster, and the warp stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a partner. It's intoxicating, especially for potent psykers whose very existence is a beacon in the immaterium. And this is the real trap. The more powerful you are, the more likely chaos is to notice you. Alpha-level psykers almost always fall if they're left alone. Their connection to the warp is so loud that ignoring the gods is like trying to ignore someone screaming in your ear forever. Eventually, they break, or they give in, or both. But here's the part chaos never advertises. That freedom you were promised, it ends the second you say yes. The moment you accept the gift, you're enslaved. Mind, soul, and eventually body. The mutations start slow. Extra eyes, horns, and such. Then comes the personality drift, the mania, the whispering voices you thought you controlled, now controlling you. And if you're really lucky, your patron might make you into something more than human, right before turning you into a writhing puddle of sentient regret. Look at the poster children of this lifestyle. Ahriman is arguably the greatest mortal psyker alive. Brilliant, disciplined, terrifyingly powerful, and even he is chained to a god he despises. Word-bearer sorcerers strut around like they're prophets, but every one of them knows their soul is already bookmarked in a demon's personal cookbook. Falling to chaos is basically taking a job where the perks are great, but the retirement plan is eventual spontaneous combustion. You will get stronger, you might live longer. You will also end up enslaved, mutated beyond recognition, or digested by your new friends. So yes, if you think you're built different, you can try it. Plenty do. Maybe you really are special. Who knows, right? So after all of this, after the black ships and the demons and the inquisitors and the maybe I'll just join chaos, bro, I'm built different. What does actual survival look like for a psyker in the Imperium? Well, the good news is that it's technically possible. The bad news is that your life expectancy is still measured in how quickly the warp notices you, which is basically like asking how long you can stand in a thunderstorm holding a metal rod before something from the sky decides to smite you. And that's the truth of it. Being a psyker in the Imperium isn't a power fantasy, it's a countdown. A long one if you're lucky, a short one if you're not, but a countdown all the same. Your best hope is caution, discipline, and a healthy fear of the thing living behind your eyes. If you manage to make it to old age without exploding, being possessed, getting executed, or falling to chaos, congratulations. You've officially beaten odds so terrible they qualify as a war crime. If you like this dive into psychic misery and want more lore breakdowns, survival guides, and unhinged commentary on the grim darkness of the far future, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That's it for today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good week.